For the past 9 years, we've watched them live.
Wow, it's coming to an end. 9 years.
Grow.
It's turned into something more than I could have ever imagined it being.
We're just so fortunate to have had an experience like this.
And triumph.
This show is one of the biggest underdog success stories in television history.
How many shows can look back and say 9 years on the air?
It's been incredible to go on the journey.
I think I'm having my baby.
Everyone's incredibly grateful and appreciative.
We made it 9 seasons, and everybody always told us that we couldn't do it.
I was over pros.
We really have had so much fun.
I will always protect you.
TV is about characters. You have to care about the people.
This is good, isn't it?
It's perfect.
We've gone through not only our ups and downs as individuals, but our ups and downs with each other.
Let's do something great today.
Tonight, creator Mark Schwann
What I'll miss the most about making the show are the relationships.
and the cast of One Tree Hill
It resonates with people on a very personal level.
look back on an incredible journey of the friends we've come to know and love.
I feel like I have a history and I have a family.
Marry me, Quinn Jane.
That's going to be the hardest to walk away from.
Yes, of course I will.
It's like having a friend or a loved one that you know you're not going to see anymore.
I'm with you every day.
And it is personally satisfying to say, like, what an accomplishment.
It's one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had.
You did it!
We did it.
It's immense and it's beautiful, and I don't think any of us will ever have an experience like this again.
Tonight marks the final chapter of One Tree Hill, the landmark drama that spanned 9 seasons across 2 television networks.
We're not gonna get sad. Nothing's gonna change now. We'll all be friends forever.
But before we say goodbye, we celebrate the people, the stories, and the music that made the small town of Tree Hill, North Carolina, a destination for millions of adoring fans.
This was somewhat of a coming-of-age show. We met our characters as juniors in high school. To spend 9 years with those characters, you can feel so much growth.
Nathan, remember, 20 shots, no less.
Got it, Dad.
When I first wrote it, it was meant to be a feature film. I pitched it as Cain and Abel on a basketball court.
You ready for this?
Because Nathan and Lucas were half-brothers and they were adversarial and they were from different worlds.
Creator Mark Schwann eventually decided to bring the story to television.
In a movie, you're going to spend 2 hours in that world. Why don't you spend 22 hours a year in that world?
But when the series premiere was moved to an earlier date, the show was faced with a challenging launch.
9 years ago, if you weren't in the advanced magazines, nobody knew your show was on. So when the show debuted, the ratings were very low.
One Tree Hill premiered on September 23, 2003, featuring a young but enthusiastic cast.
There's no way I could ever imagine that I'd be sitting here doing an interview for season 9 back when I was 18 years old, when I first started the show.
I was like, oh, this is pretty good.
Nathan for the win! Holy crap, did you see that?
So I called Mark, and I was like, hey, Mark, I think this show can make it, man.
Don't worry, Dad. Your dreams are still safe.
The good news was that our ratings kept going up every week. And that doesn't really happen. Whoever saw the show was still watching the show. And each week, a few more people would find the show.
When you're ready, I'll be too.
By mid-season, season 1, we were a hit.
Before the first year drew to a close, a fiercely loyal fan base began to form.
One of my favorite memories was getting a phone call from Tony DeSanto at MTV and said, are you watching this? I said, no, I'm on the West Coast. He goes, people are outside, they're out of control. It's as big as when Eminem was here last week. I said, for what? He goes, for your One Tree Hill kids. And that was a really good memory because we knew we had caught some traction and the show started taking off.
And I think with each year that passed, we did get a little bit more confidence moving forward that maybe we would come back.
Every season, we'd be on the bubble, and we would seemingly win every online poll. And the fans would bombard the network with basketballs or things that were significant to a storyline that season.
We've all had this really special experience with our fans because we were all kind of riding the same anxiety every year. Is this show going to keep going? Are we going to get to keep telling these stories? And it created this bond.
Thanks to the great story that Schwann and all the writers put out, this has been a marathon of a TV show in a great way.
It's very rare, actually, that you see 9 seasons of a television show. It's just Hall of Fame status.
This place will always be with you.
Considering where we came from and considering the huge odds against us, There's not many more greater underdog success stories than ours.
There is only one Tree Hill, and it's your home.
Anyway, man, what you reading these days, man?
Steinbeck, The Winter of Our Discontent.
Let me hear some.
Nah.
Come on, dog. You know I be reading vicariously through you.
From the beginning, One Tree Hill had many influences.
Man, I used to love Journey.
Wow.
The end of the first episode has a quote from Shakespeare, and that quote is very indicative of the show itself.
There is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune.
I was attracted to classic literature because I felt like the stories we were telling were about these kids in this time, and yet these quotes from hundreds of years ago applied perfectly to their situation.
And we must take the current when it serves, or lose the ventures before us.
The quote is basically about opportunity. That's what the show was to me and to the people involved. Opportunity is calling. What are you going to do?
If music and literature provided the heart of the series, its soul came from a different place.
I'm a fan of sports in general, how inspiring sports can be, and about how athletes can remind us that we all have greatness inside of us. It's a great terrain to set stories.
Lucas Scott with the ball, alley-oops to Nathan. The Birds have taken flight.
North Carolina is a basketball hotbed and a natural location for the series.
I set One Tree Hill in Illinois because that's where I was from. But because of production concerns, the studio asked me to look at some warmer weather states. One of the states they wanted me to look at was North Carolina. Once I got there, it was beautiful. And they took me to look at Michael Jordan's high school gym. And I said, we're good. This will be perfect. And that was Laney High School, and that's where the Ravens played their basketball.
The town of Wilmington provided the perfect backdrop.
I know a place open all night. Let's roll.
I was so captivated by the view of the town from Battleship Park. Our gaffers and our riggers lit that town so magically. Anytime you see us at the river court at night, all of those lights on the other side of the river are ours.
When I was 17 years old, I was shooting for 14 hours a day on that river court, and it's turned into something more than I could have ever imagined it being. And that river court has been a fixture throughout this whole journey.
Filming basketball sequences was made easier by the series' star player.
As a sports fan, you want things to be authentic. When I got James Lafferty to play Nathan, he was living in Hemet, California playing high school basketball. It was such a luxury to turn to the 6'2", 17-year-old kid and say, well, it says you have to dunk, so you have to dunk. He's so competitive, he just threw the dunk down. And I thought, this is going to be really special.
We win!
And while games in Tree Hill created incredible moments,
So who do you want standing next to you?
it was the stories that rose to the top.
It's okay. Go.
I just felt like I understood young voices, and I always knew what the moments were going to be.
When all my dreams come true, the one I want next to me, it's you.
You know, that they were going to be more powerful and relevant in the actual sport.
If today is the best it ever gets for me, will that be enough?
Of course.
There is something that this show does to our core audience. It resonates with people on a very personal level.
Haley, listen, this is not a mistake.
How can you be sure? Because there is nobody that thinks this thing can work.
I do.
Figuring out how to persevere through the hard times in life.
I will always protect you. Always.
Difficult marriage or difficult friendships. Deaths or kidnappings.
You should always be able to be exploring and finding new things with a character that you play this long.
We don't want to be vulnerable, and we don't want to show that we struggle, and we don't always make the best choices. That mirrors life. You know, you stumble, you fall, but you're always redeemed.
Meet me halfway here?
Why should I?
Because I'm sorry.
Everybody has obstacles and difficulties, but sometimes quietly it's nice to hear that it's going to be okay.
Because you're looking really hot standing out here in the rain, and I'm thinking I have to kiss you.
Or if you have to.
Body be free. I'm gonna love you more than anyone.
Do you have the new Haley James album? On vinyl.
Nice. Yeah, I got a promo copy.
From the beginning, One Tree Hill had not only a defining look and tone, but a defining sound as well.
DJ Bobo? Where are the Executioners or the Chemical Brothers or anything?
I think it's really good you're fighting with Nathan again.
You do?
Yeah. Every time you guys fight, I get to hear new music.
Kids have a soundtrack to their lives. Most everyone is a music fan.
This one's for you, Haley.
So very early on, we wanted music to be a focal point of the show.
Hey guys, this is Kate Vogel from One Tree Hill.
We opened Trick in season 2 so that we could feature more bands and more artists.
Michelle Branch and Jessica Harp are playing a Trick tomorrow. No way! Yes, that's awesome!
It's almost like we made a mixtape every week. And I got to give my mixtape to millions of people and say, here's what I'm listening to and here's what I love.
As high as the moon, so high.
I'm proud that I got to shine a light on some greatness. I remember saying to Kate Vogel once, you were always great. We just had the vehicle that could shine a light on that.
It could still happen for you, Haley.
It will, someday.
Well, someday's here. I talked to Michelle. She wants you on the tour.
We had plans to send Haley the character on tour. And I said to Joe Davola, why don't we send Joy on tour as well?
They took musicians from the show, myself, the Wreckers, who was Michelle Branch and Jessica Harp, Bethany Joy, and Gavin DeGraw was on a lot of the dates.
And it sold out every city.
You could just totally feel the energy. The fans, they were like, what? This is like, it's like a live extension of the show.
How do you like Tyler Hilton?
It was a frenzy. It was something that I'll never forget.
The series toured again in season 6, this time for U.S. troops.
2 hours of going to Iraq, okay? That's real. That's why we're here. We love you guys.
One Tree Hill fans had an enormous appetite for music, and the series became a destination for new and emerging artists.
You're Gavin DeGraw.
Yeah, that's me.
Had a new album out and was struggling, and we struck up a friendship and a relationship.
That alliance would give One Tree Hill its signature sound.
People know those notes when they start. They know that it's this place, that it's this group, that it's this family.
That song, I Don't Wanna Be, went platinum. It went #1. And that was a year after that record came out. And it was because of the One Tree Hill fans.
This show has the most dedicated fans of anybody I've ever seen. When you meet them in person, they convey that passion and that energy.
They've immersed themselves in this little town of Tree Hill and, love the characters that inhabit it.
It's amazing to have all these people showering you with love.
It's like, oh, we're coming from France, we're coming from Australia, we're coming from London. I was like, you saved up all your money to come over here? That's dedication.
We've called on them throughout the years to bother the network to get us picked up, to show up at the mall tours, to show up at the concerts.
People have invested 9 years of their lives. You go from junior high to out of college, and to think that this show was an ally to them at that time is very humbling.
With such a dedicated following, the show looked for more ways to reach out and connect.
We would always think about, if this were your favorite show, what would be cool?
Come on, we're all graduating soon. It could be like a last hurrah.
I bought Red Vines. You can't have a road trip without Red Vines.
What if the characters came to your town, and you were you, but the characters were the characters?
A contest was created, and fans across the country submitted videos to bring One Tree Hill to their hometown.
How about you come to us?
And a small Texas town became the principal location.
Action! This is it. Honey Grove, the sweetest town in Texas.
The first night we got there, James Lafferty and Antoine Tanner and I wanted to go play basketball.
The people showing us mad love, so happy to be here.
We just scrimmaged with the team for like a couple hours, and by the end of the scrimmage, the bleachers were fairly full.
You guys crashing?
No.
We know everybody in our school.
You won't tell anyone, will you?
Nah, it's cool.
When we shot the scenes outside, it was like a parade.
And it's like this huge experience for them as much as it is for the cast.
We made the front page of the Weekly Gazette.
We've really created bonds with the people who watch our show that no other show, I think, has really done.
I think I'm gonna miss Honey Grove.
Yeah, me too.